Hello, third graders, and welcome to our lesson today on classifying animals. You're going to want to grab your packet, your reading packet, to have out with you so you can follow along as we discuss and learn all about how do we classify animals. So we're going to start off today kind of talking about how do we sort? What does that mean? So grab that packet. We're going to start in the very front. You're going to see on the very front some pictures. The first one you should see here is of an elephant and of a frog. And we're going to read and kind of discuss about classifying and making sense of our world by sorting things into groups and categories, which you probably did when you were little. You sorted things by color and by shape. If you do laundry at home, you might help your mom or dad by sorting your laundry by darks and reds and whites so that they don't mix together in the washing machine. You sort your silverware by forks and spoons and knives when you put them away. So we sort or group things all the time. But to make things easier to study, scientists put things in groups or categories to help them. They look for things that are the same or things that are different. And the group of things that are the same is what they'll put together. All of the things in a group or category usually have similar features. And then you can compare and contrast or talk about how they're the same or different to understand the world around them. So follow along and read with me, and then we'll continue our discussion. There are many different kinds of animals on Earth. Some are huge, like elephants and whales. Some are tiny, like ladybugs and ants. Scientists, called zoologists, study how animals are alike and different. Zoologists observe animals to see the ways they are the same and the ways they are different. They sort or classify, that's our big word, animals into groups based on their characteristics. Characteristics are what they look like, what they are made of, how their features are the same. So far, zoologists have classified over 1 million different kinds of animals. That's a lot of animals. So the specific scientists that study animals are called zoologists, and they are working on sorting. Many scientists think there may be close to 10 million other animals that still have not been classified. So we've figured out 1 million, but there's probably 10 million more. We haven't even started. Every so often, scientists find a new kind of animal in one of the unexplored areas of the Earth, like far into the rainforest, inside the cold ice of glaciers, within the hot lava of volcanoes, and deep, deep down in the ocean. To learn more about the new animal, they compare, meaning how it's the same, its characteristics to other animals they know. Does this new animal lay eggs? Does it breathe with lungs? Does it have hair or scales? Is it a carnivore, meaning eating meat, or an herbivore, eating plants? When these kinds of questions are answered, scientists will know if the new animal is more like a cat, or a frog, or a duck, or a bee. So they start by looking at all of those things, answering questions, and then figuring out what group it belongs to. Let's look at some other things that we sort and classify. On this picture, you're going to see some musical instruments in the orchestra. How could we classify these? Well, we could talk about the bass instruments or the string instruments, like these violins and cello, or the wind instruments, like the clarinet and the flute, or the percussion instruments, like the drums. We can sort them by the different kinds of music that they make. Are they high or are they low? We also classify books in a library by the different genres. Is it fantasy? Is it a fairy tale? Is it a myth? Is it a legend? Or is it fiction or nonfiction? We might even classify them by topics like animals or plants. We also classify shapes. You did this back in preschool and kindergarten by triangles and circles and squares and rectangles. Even by colors. We sorted these by green, purple, pink. Think about your grocery store. All the food in the grocery store is classified. If you want milk, you don't go over to the produce section, you go to the dairy section. If you want fruit, you go to the produce. There's the bakery that has all of our baked goods like breads and cupcakes. Meat, the meat section has our steaks and chicken. Our deli section that would have our deli meats, canned goods, cereals, soda. In order to go in the grocery store and shop effectively, all of the food is classified based on the type of food it is. Well, back in the 18th century, a Swedish man named Carl Linnaeus developed a system for organizing living things. When he started, he was mainly interested in plants. So he started up that, but he ended up using his system to categorize all living things. Scientists still use the Linnaeus system today. Even though it was developed in the 18th century, they still use it today, but they constantly refine and change the system based on the new knowledge that they've learned about animals and plants. All of the rules that the zoologists use to classify and categorize animals are written down in this book called the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. Every living thing on earth can be classified. Think about that. Every living thing on earth can be classified according to this system in this book. The system has 7 different levels. So they classify based on levels. The first level is called a kingdom. And that's kind of what we're going to start talking about now. So every living thing on earth is classified based off of this International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. When Linnaeus developed his system, he divided all living things into only 2 kingdoms when he started, the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. Those are 2 that we'll be learning about, so plants and animals. But today, zoologists use 6 kingdoms instead of just the 2 that Linnaeus started. The 6 total kingdoms are plants, animals, and then there's our bacteria, eubacteria, protists, and fungi. Some scientists think that viruses should have their own kingdom, but other scientists believe that viruses are not actually living things. So, as of right now, viruses don't have their own kingdom. However, that might change in the future as scientists continue to study viruses more in depth. So I'm going to list some different things, and I want you to think about the things I'm listing and how would you classify it? Would you put it in the animal kingdom? Would you put it in the plant kingdom? Or would it go into the non-living kingdom, meaning that it's not alive? So I want you to think about it. The first animal would be a lion. How would you classify that? You should have said the animal kingdom. What about an oak tree? Where would you put an oak tree? You should have said plant. What about a rock? Yep, that's non-living. Rocks don't breathe and grow and change. How about a turtle? Animal. Television. Non-living, yes. How about a grasshopper? That would go in the animal kingdom. What about a dandelion? That's a plant. Those are those little yellow plants that grow kind of like weeds. What about a worm? That's a plant? No, that's an animal. How about water? Is water an animal or a plant, or is it non-living? You should say non-living. Hopefully you got all those right. And if you did, look at you. You're already becoming a scientist. There's so many animals in the world, it's helpful to put them into groups based on their characteristics. Although scientists have categorized many animals into groups, they still believe there are a large number of animals that have not yet been identified and classified. Remember, we talked about like in the far depths of the rainforest or deep levels of the ocean where we can't get to. When exploring them, sometimes they discover animals we've never seen. They would be kind of unidentified then in that case. For instance, in 2017, there were over 18,000 new kinds of plants and animals found. In 1 year, we found 18,000 new ones. This happens to be one of those new discoveries here on your slide. It is a new kind of an isopod or a pill bug. Those are what these would be called. So when they came upon this animal, they had to start asking themselves questions about what is it made of? What's it do? How does it eat? What does it eat? Look at the legs. Does it have a backbone? Is it growing? What is it not growing? All of those things in order to classify it as an isopod or a pill bug. This animal was found in South America in a cave, and its behavior never had been seen before in its family. It actually constructs shelters of mud, which is what you kind of see here. The cave where the species was discovered has its only entrance at the bottom of a sinkhole, so it would be really, really dangerous to get to. And when it rains during the rainy season, it completely floods, so they can't get in there during most of the year. 8 other caves in the region were explored, but only one cave had this new species in it. So they studied it and classified this new animal. When scientists organize animals into groups, they organize them according to particular characteristics that they have in common. By placing animals into groups, scientists can study and see the relationships between them. If you look closely at the picture here of these two animals, there's a squirrel on the left here and a salamander on the right. Let's look at their characteristics. Can you find anything that is the same or is alike with these two animals? Well, I noticed that they both have 4 legs. I noticed they both have 2 eyes. They both look like they're climbing on some sort of a tree branch here and living outside. I can't tell what their full diet is and what they eat, but they look like they kind of have similar habitats because I can see some leaves back here in the background. What about how they're different? Oh, another thing I noticed that was the same size, they both have a tail. How about differences? Well, one thing I noticed is that this animal over here has fur covering its body, where this animal over here has almost like scales or slimy looking skin. I also noticed that this animal doesn't look like it's able to stand up and like the squirrel can. I noticed that its face has a different shape, that this one looks like it has some teeth here, where this animal over here, I can't see teeth, but it definitely has a different look. So I could look at these two animals and talk about how they're the same and they're different. Today, that's going to be your job. So here are some animals, and I want you to pick 2 of these animals, any 2, and I want you to tell me how they are the same and how they are different. So we have an owl, a fish, a snail, a worm, rabbit, a bat, a frog, a turtle, a snake, an octopus, a fox, and a duck. You pick any 2 animals from this slide, I don't care which 2, and I want you to tell me 2 ways the animal is the same or is similar and 2 ways that they are different. Think about where they live, what they eat, what their body's covered in. Do they lay eggs? Do they have live birth? Do they have lungs, gills? Where do they live? So you may pick any 2 of these animals. You're going to complete that today for your activity. The next time we meet, we're going to talk about another way that we classify animals, and that is by their blood. I will see you then.